Hey guys, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back home, family. For those of you that happen to be new here today, I definitely hope that you hear something that can persuade you to stay. If this happens to be your very first time here, or you're repeated and you have not subscribed, exactly what are you waiting for? Let's jump straight into today's video. I am going to have so many pictures, y'all. And I really, really, really need you guys to pay attention to the pictures that you see. It's important that we realize that the world is ran off of symbolism. So the Fleur De Lis is a symbol that we see everywhere. I know I see it all the time here in Chicago. And many people begin to correlate this with the coat of arms in France. It is very important for us to know without a shadow of a doubt that the Huguenots that we see in France are Israelites in origins. They are Moors, Moriscos, and they became the Protestants to protest against the Catholic Church. The symbol is seen during the High Middle Ages. It's also seen in the House of Bourbon, and we're not even going to go into all of these different houses on today. I'm specifically, just very briefly, speak a little bit more on my grandfather, Maryland Holiday, because he's the one that got me to be able to unveil without a shadow of a doubt that a lot of these rulers in Europe are indeed hidden Moors. And this is something that has been taught in the Hebraic community for a very long time. It's just not taught in mass, and many people, even in the Hebraic community, do not believe it. Me unearthing my family's history and finding them in Europe, i.e., London, Ireland, Scotland, before they came over here into the Americas, has helped me begin to accept history for exactly what it is and be able to deduce it in an even greater manner. So when we began to look at the Fleur De Lis, at one time it symbolized religious and political, dynastic, and artistic emblem. And we've seen this worn a lot amongst the Tudors. And the Tudors are known, without a shadow of a doubt, to be black. And they were not slaves. They were not servants. They were musicians and artists. Shakespeare even had an exception with them. And they were called blackamoors. Now, when we begin to look at this symbol, we can see that it's 6 leaves. And this is where you will get the 6-point star. This symbol is also called a lily. And so some begin to correlate it to the Virgin Mary and Saint Joseph, the parents of Yeshua Bar Yosef. We see that this symbol is not only in Europe, but across the Americas as well. And so it says they called it in short the Fleur De Lis instead of the flower of the lily of leaves. The flower or iris looks like our Fleur De Lis, not just because of its yellow color, but because of its shape. The 6 petals or leaves that it has, 3 of them are alternately straight and meet at their top, the other 3 on the opposite bend down, so that the one in the middle seems like one with a stalk, and only 2 facing out from the left and the right can be seen clearly, which is similar. So the one in the stalk, for some, hides that 6th petal, so it only looks like 5 petals, which is where you will get the 5-pointed star. And we just going to talk a little gang stuff so that we can correlate all of this and make it make sense. So I'm from the west side of Chicago, right? And the way that the gang territories were broken up when I was coming up, by color. More times than not, people that rolled under the 6, that's where you would get your GDs, your BDs, your imperial gangsters, your maniacs, your all of those, right? And then the sides where my family and my connections come from, those are all people's nations. That's where you get your almighties, all is well. pea stones, your black pea stones, your El Rukins. That's where you get your four corner hustlers. Or where my mama's people is from the land. That's where you get your vice lords, your traveling vice lords, your conservative vice lords, right? And so when we begin to compare these in history, this is nothing less than the Blue Lodge, which will give you your GDs and, the 6-point stars, and then your Red Lodge, which will give you your People's Nation. And so these are literally just the splitting of two kingdoms. And we are going to ascertain these facts in that way. When you begin to even look at how the literature, specifically at the Black Pea Stones, which I'm not going to go in depth about all of that, is broken down. It's based off of Moorish temple science. When you begin to look at the pyramid and those 21 steps to ascension and so on and so forth, this is Freemasonry amongst us. And these signs and these symbols follow us everywhere we go. Now, as I forestated, this was seen in the Middle Ages. It's also believed that the symbol came from this angon, Angon, which is a throwing spear. And it's shaped like a Y, upside down and upside down, right? And that word literally means yoke. When we begin to think about Yod, Hey, Wave, and it means hook. Yod, Hey, Wave, of fastening and hooking in. And when it says Shema Israel Adonai Echad Adonai Eloheinu, it's a fastening. What does the old church song say? You ought to let him in. You ought to let him in. Heist up your windows and open up your doors and let him come on in. There's a storm out over life's ocean. And if you it's always a heisting up, a fastening up, a hooking to, a binding to. Let's go even deeper, right? In ancient usage, it has consistently been used as a royal emblem through different cultures, have interpreted as many ways. And so the Gaulish, and we talked about this before, not super in depth, but it's very important that you guys know that Gaul means black. And then Gaelic, Ireland, this is where the Moors live, where the Jews live, where the black peoples live. Now it says, in the east, it was found. Who was in the east? The Hebrews, on the helmet of a Scythian king. There are some theories out there about the Israelite origins of the Scythians. Not the ones that, were birthed out of Japhet, but the ones that originated and upbuilt and colonized that land or supplanted the land after the Japhetic rulers. There's some theories out there. So let's continue, because this is what made me scream. Literally made me scream. See also the very similar lily symbol on coins from the Achaemenian and Ptolemaic provinces of Yehuda. So this was during the time of the Persian rule, y'all. And this is seen heavily in the book of Esther. These coins were also seen under Hasmonean rule. So when we began to look at the Ptolemaic province of Yehud through 350 to 200 BC, y'all see that on the screen? So the Persians, and I made a little video earlier, a short that I'm going to drop down in the description about who the Persians are. The Persians are Semitic people as well. They come from Elam, who comes from Shem. And so we see that in the book of Esther, we were amongst them. And so during that time, we were able to get our own edicts to be able to keep our own laws, statutes, and commandments, because they were killing or killing those of us who were still keeping the Jews' laws. We still had our own money systems and things of that nature. And so the Yehud coinage is a series of a smaller silver coin, and it bared Aramaic. And it's very important to know this, because when you look at the book of Daniel and the book of Esther, it was written in Aramaic, and because this is the language that was picked up on during that captivity, they derived their name from the inscription Yod Hey Dalet. And this is Yehud, the Aramaic name of the Achaemenian Persian province of Yehud. And do you guys see the Yehud symbol? And so this is where the religion of Judaism and Samaritanism was being kept. The denominations of the Jews and the Judeans and the Judites and the Israelites. And so this is the symbol of Jerusalem. The symbol of Jerusalem is this lily. It's this flower. Now, when we begin to observe of a Judean silver Yehuda coin from the Persian era, we see the falcon. And then this is also seen again in the Hasmonean rule of Judah. And we know that the Hasmonean coins usually featured Paleo-Hebrew, which is an older Phoenician script that was used to write Hebrew. The coins are struck only in bronze. The symbol include cornucopia, palm branch, a lily. Because what did they do? When Yeshua Bar Yosef came through riding on a donkey, Hosanna, 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 he came lowly. And this was one of the two Mashiachs that was prophesied or written about in the oral tradition and also talked about in the Quran. An anchor. What does the anchor represent? The anchor is another form of the Ankh. And we know that the Ankh not only goes back into Egypt, but further back into Mesopotamia with the blending of Enki, which is the god of the earth, and his mother Ki, which is the breath of life. And you put those together, you have the key of life. We also know that the Phoenicians, the tribe of Dan, the merchants were the original navy. And this is seen in the time of Solomon. And so this anchor is represented by a star. What did I tell you guys? That the lily could either be a 5-point or a 6-point star. The pomegranate is also one of the inscriptions that you will see on our coins. And why is this? Because the pomegranate was placed on the bottom of the priest's garments. The pomegranate also represented fertility in Near Eastern culture. And also a helmet, which is why you will begin to see on my holiday family crest, because my grandfather, Maryland Holiday, was knighted by King James the First and the Fourth, you know, the interpreter of the good book. And the helmet is represented by him, even though he was depicted as a white man, but we know that he was a Morisco, a hidden Moor. And then you begin to look, it's 3 of them. And then when you begin to look at the Moor's head, what is it represented by? 3 Moor's head. Now, this is history. When we follow the symbols, we can find out the exact meaning of them versus creating our own. Now, we do know that in the occult, in Wicca, Voodoo, Hoodoo, Santorini, paganism, so on and so forth, that they will use these signs and symbols because they know the spiritual aspect behind the unlocking. They also will use the 72-letter name of Yod Hey Dwave and switch the orders of his name in order to invoke a deity. They also use the Hebraic term abracadabra. Now, you guys already know I dropped a little small short that I'm going to drop down in this video about Albania. So, you all see that the Albanians also have this crest for the kingdom of Albania. And they also have the lion that we're going to see on other Moors' crests. It's important to know that the Moors in Albania got there in so many different type of ways. And if we want to like play around with words and whatnot, when you look at Albania, a lot of people think of albino. And we know that Laban literally means white in Hebrew. But Laban was not a white man. He was a black Syrian. A Laban can mean to turn white. Okay, we're going to leave that one alone. So when you begin to think about the Moors that's in Albania, history backs up their oral tradition that after the fall and the destruction of the temple in 70 AD, they not only fled into West Africa, which is where you're going to see these Akan. And this is important to know because the Akan say that they are from the tribe of Judah. And prophetically, the Most High said that it will never fail to sit a king on his throne. We see kingship among the ancient Akan. We see it in Africa. We see the king and the queen mother and that prophecy being continued. Let's see what begins to happen. So in 70 AD, the southern kingdom fled into Albania. And then we see during the Assyrian captivity and how the northern kingdom got pushed into all of Eurasia and North Africa, so on and so forth. They also, at the expulsion of the Jews, got pushed into Albania. We will also see that during the Ottoman Empire, the Jews were pushed into Albania. We will also see that after World War II, the Moors were pushed into Albania. Y'all, I'm going to stop here so I don't go too deep and start unveiling other European places. But I really wanted to show you guys that sign and that symbol in correlation with Albania, with the historical aspects of this symbol and these coins. Actually, let's do just a little bit more. We're going to do just a little bit more. And I'm going to insert more symbols of my grandfather, Leonard Holiday, all of that good stuff, right? And so let's look into the house of the Tudor and their symbols. There are many, 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 many hypotheses, theories, synopsis, conclusions that have been drawn that the Tudors are Hebrews, that they're black people. So I'm about to show you guys. You see the Tudor rose? Okay, so let's look at the symbol for Elizabeth I. You see how they have her depicted, correct? But let's look at her symbol. We should be already able to see that the Fleur De Lis is on there. The lion's on there. The crown is on there. Let's look for Mary I. Same thing. Let's look at Henry VIII. Same thing. Y'all, just same thing. Oh, let's look at the Tudors of Welsh nobility. Is that not identical to my grandfather's holiday family crest? Let's actually look at a depiction that they have of my grandfather. Y'all see that in the upper left-hand corner? There go another holiday family emblem. Let's look at, so you know how they had the Tudor flower? I'm going to throw this in here. It's a certain order. And we're not even going to delve into this because this is something that I'm still learning and studying on. And it's the order of the Rosicrucian. And you see that flower? It's the same. Let's read just a little bit about the Rosicrucians. So it's a movement that was seen in the early 17th century, and it's an esoteric movement. And the Rosicrucians is talked about in some of these movies. And it's a very interesting thing. And the Rosicrucians began to say that their origins are Egyptian. Okay. Brahmanic. Now, Braham. This is Indian. And there are a lot of Jews in India. And we also have to know that there are a lot of Elamites who are Semitic people in India. They also say that their mysteries derive from the Magi of Persia, see? The Carthaginians, which we know would be ancient Greeks. And what do y'all say about ancient Greeks? Do y'all think the ancient Greeks are black? A lot of people do. And also the Arabs. So they are saying that their origins are Hebraic. So let's see if we can find that flower and the Fleur De Lis and all of these emblems on some more stuff. So let's look. That's the Rosicrucian flower. This is the Tudor flower. Okay. Now, there we go. There we go. So, guys, we have some really deep studying to do on history. And we have to realize that a lot of these symbols belong to us first, and that they're literally mapping out and telling us who we are in history. This is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems.